The salesperson is the person that initially creates the idea or works with the customer, then the engineer. Well, where does it go from there? It goes to the project manager, and then it goes to the installation engineer. And sometimes that includes a subcontractor. A lot of times, depending upon the type of system it is, it might include a manufacturer, an equipment manufacturer that needs to have some visibility to what is exactly being provided to the customer.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Grow IT Podcast. And today I'm lucky to have Chris Hugman, who is a co-founder of System Surveyor. System Surveyor is instrumental in developing a mobile SaaS platform that's enabling physical security system design, installation, and maintenance to collaborate in an unprecedented manner. And Chris, we're glad to have you on today.
Well, Terrence, thanks for having me. Looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah. All right. So give us a little bit about your background. Maybe tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure. I've been first 20 years of my career, I was in the telecommunications space. And that was back in the day when broadband was really coming around and things like that. And then, when the dot-com boom crushed me, I pivoted over into the security space because at that time, physical security, the IT technology was beginning to emerge in the physical security space. You started to see video surveillance cameras with IP addresses, and no one in that business kind of knew what to do with that. So it created a bit of a window, and I jumped into there and started the company. It was a system integration company in that space to do exactly that, to sell and deliver network video surveillance systems. And so, I was one of the pioneers there in terms of embracing the newer technology. Grew that company to reasonable size, and in that company, I found a need that particularly my salespeople had to create. They were having problems, and so I how us entrepreneurs like to do it. We see a problem, we have to solve it, and so came up with the idea for System Surveyor, and kind of the rest is history, as they say.
So let's talk about that. What was it, the problem or that you identified and saw? Because you're right. As entrepreneurs, we see something, and I don't even know if it's as much like, oh, there's a business opportunity. We just see something, go, that needs to be fixed, right? Like there's got to be a better way to do this.
Yeah. So here's the story, Terrence. I mean, I was in my business. We have our office. I walk into the office, and my salesperson and my sales engineer is sitting in a conference room, in the front conference room. I'm walking by, and they're just getting at each other. And I'm like, okay, I've got to step into this. We got to figure out what's going on. And so I do. And my sales engineer tells me, he said, he's not giving me the information that I need from the customer side so that I can create a reasonable proposal. And of course, the salesperson responds and says, well, I don't have time to go back and redo this. He's going to have to work with what I have. And so as I think about that later on, I thought, they're both right. They're both right. I'm not giving the salesperson the tools that they need to be successful in gathering information and collecting the data that they need, photos, and putting it all in one nice, neat bundle so we can give it to the sales engineer so they can be successful. And so that's what was the genesis behind System Surveyor. I've got to solve this problem. And from there, develop what would that look like? And ultimately now, as you see System Surveyor, that's the fruition of that idea. And so that's really what kind of drove that process.
Well, it's funny because, like even before we started today, I started telling you about some of the issues on our end with salespeople, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it isn't about, hey, it's a salesperson, issue or an engineer person. It's like, to your point, they're both right? So how do I find a way, to fix this? And so maybe let's, obviously tie this back into what the different prospects and clients that you're helping, what problem you're solving. Is it that problem? And more importantly, how? Like, what is the how behind it?
Yeah. And so exactly. So what we've developed is a cloud-based system. We have a mobile app used on tablets to help the folks in the field, the salespeople, quickly gather data. They can bring in a floor plan, easily drag and drop our little icons that demonstrate where they want maybe a security camera or a network switch or 300 different type of components, and they can snap open the camera on the device and take photos, and it attaches right there to those, to each one of those devices. So you don't have to load 100 photos from your cell phone and then go back and label them and remember where they were. It's all done right there. Once they're finished on the site with their tablet, they upload it to the cloud, and then now it's available instantly to the folks back at the office. They don't even have to go back to the office. But really, Terrence, while it makes that process much more efficient in terms of the time spent on site and the time, what I call the post site survey cleanup after you leave, and okay, now I got to get my notes together. But what it really does, and this was frankly, it was a happy accident, is that it gives the salesperson and the customer the ability to collaborate. And we call that visual collaboration. So that now the customer can see, okay, here's the system that he's thinking about putting in here, and that's going to work for me. Or maybe I want to make some changes. Maybe we want to do it some other way. But you have a validation right there early in the sales process about exactly what you're planning to deliver. So what we've seen is sales rates go up. I mean, the close rates have gone up, the sales price has gone up, the sales cycle is cut in half. And so really that customer experience was improved so much. And that was a true value of what we're doing. We got the efficiencies, but that's really where the value is.
A key to my heart is anytime I hear sales cycles, shortening or accelerating is a good thing, right? I think for anybody.
Yeah.
But can you tell me, you started this off by talking about the sales guy and the engineer. Maybe talk about some of the multitude of different people that are involved in this different process that have found it to be of help. Because I know, in talking to folks there, that there's some other people that you weren't anticipating that it was going to be as beneficial for, that have come up saying, hey, this is fantastic. And so maybe let's talk about the different types of roles and people that it kind of is assisting and aiding.
Yeah. Well, so what we offer is a visual diagram of a system. It's a layout diagram. It's a floor plan with a bunch of locations on it. So who needs that? Well, the salesperson is the person that initially creates the idea or works with the customer, then the engineer. Well, where does it go from there? It goes to the project manager, and then it goes to the installation engineer. And sometimes that includes a subcontractor. A lot of times, depending upon the type of system it might include a manufacturer, an equipment manufacturer that needs to have some visibility to what is exactly being provided to the customer. And of course, the customer themselves. And so you have all of these different stakeholders that are in there. And one of the things that we wanted to do with our platform is to provide the ability to bring all of that together and let folks view the information from different angles. And so all of those folks that I mentioned could have secure access into, say, a floor plan. And as things change, they can be aware of what's been updated. And so those are the types of things, all the way from the initial sales call to the final sign off on the project, is really where the folks that we serve in that respect.
I want to get to some of the success stories. People love that, but I want to ask you more on, like, let's call it the value proposition side. Like, what is it when you think of System Surveyor and talking obviously to prospects and clients? That's what's most important. But what do you see as the most significant value proposition in utilizing System Surveyor?
Without a doubt, the most significant value proposition is that initial customer experience, is being able to show the customer what you plan to do on the first call. And I've been told time and time again, that I've sold this system. In one case, it was a customer offered to take me out to dinner because he said, I sold $1 million system because of your product. He said there were two other national players at the table, and because I was able to show them what I'm going to do within System Surveyor, I won the deal. And so I graciously accepted his dinner as small payment toward his out of that. So And that's really, that's really what we want to do. So it's that sales process that's really where we show.
I hope you got a big steak dinner out of that. But
Yeah,
and that rolls into a client success stories. Those are important, like, right, like, and
for sure.
client success comes in different ways, right? That's an easy one, right? If someone's able to help close $1 million deal over their competitors because of System Surveyor and what it allowed them to do and present their offering. What are again, some other clients have different visions or different opinions of success as it
Yeah,
applies to their business. But maybe walk us through a few different client success stories that they come to mind.
sure. Well, another one that comes to mind is a university that was using our platform. They have an internal security team, IT, kind of IT and security team. And routinely they get calls from various departments to say, I need help, I need support for this or that. And they were able to take our platform and hand it to one of their student interns and say, go out there and record, what, talk to the folks and let them know, what we want to do, and then bring it back and we'll figure out, we'll give them their, whatever cost is and that sort of thing. And so they were able to leverage these student interns to help eliminate some of the backlog that they had, because they just, their staff couldn't get to all the demands, especially as the needs for, in particular, security on campus has just ramped up so quickly over the last few years. And so it's really helped them to scale. And so they'll do that. And what they will do in this particular case, what they'll do in the meantime is they will take our design in System Surveyor and send a link out to a couple of their different partners and say, give me a price to install this. And that allows them to see all the details, the photos, the cable runs, all those things, and then they'll get a price. And they never have to come out to on site, so it just accelerates that. So that's, we sell a lot to the kind of the IT professional, the security professional that's out there serving customers, but we also sell to large corporate entities and campuses that have their own internal staffs that need to track the Internet of Things assets that are scattered all over the buildings, campuses.
Yeah. Any others that you want to mention or that come
You
to
know, those
mind?
are those. Thanks, Sarah. But those are really the two
Okay.
core kind of components that
And they're
we
very
focus
different.
on.
I mean, and as I listen to you talk about them, they're like completely separate industries, completely separate markets, and
Yeah,
completely separate use cases.
yeah, yeah. So that's really our bread and butter. I mean, we do. It can be used as what we call an as built, a living as built. So that's where your technician will go out, and now they know what they have in place. They're not going out blind. They're not relying on outdated information, but they're going out. They can pull up exactly where they can do a search on, just even on an IP address. I'm looking for the device with this IP address, and it'll pop up in our system and show them that. So
You mentioned using I believe it was a university. You said it was using an intern, and then I would imagine that even like the field sales folks that are interfacing are able to utilize that because their time's value. I mean, it seems to me like it's like time and cost savings
yeah,
tool, right? Because if an intern, no offense to any interns, right? I mean, my son's an intern at university right now, but let's just call them less experienced, less technical folks that can capture that stuff, that data, and those images, and that information remotely that allows a an expert, right? Maybe the business owner on that side to leverage their time more effectively. That seems like a pretty significant.
yeah. And there's been frankly a talent shortage in the tech space, to find a technician that really can get up to speed and really knows it. And so, and when you do find them, they expect that they will have tools to help them get up to speed. And I think that's one area that we've seen a lot of benefit from as well. Whether they're, I talked about junior salespeople now can become more productive more quickly. Technicians become more productive because there's fewer. If we can eliminate one truck roll, that is a huge benefit, because they don't have to run back to the office. I didn't know that it was this type of device, and so now I got to go back to the office and come back. But if you can know that up front, um, can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's interesting because the next question I was going to ask you is like some of the coming trends in IT that firms should be aware of, and really like your platform is one of those, trending improvements in technology, right? And cutting out waste and allowing folks to leverage time and efficiency, right? Um,
Yeah.
but but what and when they ask that question, usually it's usually revolving around AI, right?
Hmm.
So, what are some of the trends that you see maybe that are coming into play with your prospects and clients and with your own platform?
Yeah. And so, well, just speaking of the AI, I want to be careful. I mean, a lot of the AI can be in the background, but for me, there's been so much hype. A
Mhm.
lot of people are marketing AI, but really that's not what you're buying. You're looking for some value that can be better delivered maybe with AI. And so what's the value? What's the value piece? And so we've always thought that, you know, we've embraced the idea of open, being an open platform for different manufacturers and different users and that sort of thing. So we sell to both system integrators and end users and manufacturers. I mean, we have all three of those customers, and they can all collaborate through our platform. Um, I'm sure you're familiar with all the technology wars of in the past about open versus closed
Mhm.
environments and things
Mhm.
like that. And it seems
Mhm.
like the open environments always win. And I see that happening within systems like ours that are more business systems. The need to go outside the bounds of an organization. So it's you most business systems are closed within the organization. What we wanted to do with ours is be able to extend it beyond that to bring in other stakeholders, customers, or vendor partners, so that you can share important information securely with these other partners. And so I think that's a key piece that we're going to continue to see. Now, when it comes to the applications of all of the technology that's represented in our system, knowing where these devices are, all of the IoT that's out there um, is a challenge. I mean, there's not most customers don't have records or up to date records of where things are, and so it puts the burden on the service provider to do that, to track that. And as AI becomes more and more embedded in all of these devices, and it becomes more interactive of the devices, knowing where those things are is more and more critical, because otherwise the AI just won't function. It's a data structure problem at that point. So um, yeah, so those are some of the things that I think are coming at us. It's kind of a fun time.
It is, and again, even as you're mentioning the IoT devices, I have several in my house. I mean, I have them on my phone that I'm like, how many do I have, and where are they? Right? Like, I mean, right? They're listed, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's listed as the Christmas tree one. But I go over to where my Christmas tree, I'm like, it's not there. Where is it? Right? And I imagine, and that's just a regular consumer in their own
Right.
home. I would imagine from a business standpoint anything that happens on a consumer level happens times 10 at the commercial or business level.
Right. Well, and then of course, employee turnover, attrition, even more so, because so many times you have someone, particularly at universities, it seems, or schools, uh, someone's been in the IT department for 25 years and now they retire, and there went all of that information. So that's a real challenge for a lot of folks.
Let's talk about the universities,
Sure.
and it can be anyone in the, let's call it, the school system, because as you mentioned, right, the security is what's changing dramatically. Maybe kind of walk us through that. Obviously, we know a lot of that probably has to do with some of the mass violence incidents that have happened at different schools and universities throughout the
Yeah.
country. But maybe kind of walk us through just a little bit of the history of that and kind of where we're at today with things and what universities and school systems are looking to do.
Yeah. So, so we're working with large universities, smaller ones, University of Alabama, UNLV, and, kind of all the way, down to some more local community colleges and such, and even some K through 12 schools. But everyone has security as top of mind. I mean, that's really the top of mind. And one thing that we offer within our platform is for security cameras in particular, is the ability to show what we call the area of coverage. So you know what the camera's looking at, the general area of coverage there. And so, we've been involved. There's certain groups that are involved with campus security initiatives. Oh, just specifically. One that we've been involved with is called PASS, or Partner Alliance for School Security, and they focus on the security side of things, and in conjunction with some of the other infrastructure that's in place. And they have recommendations and things that they will bring to schools and give them a framework to think about, because the facility director at a school or university is faced with a lot of different things, from is my air conditioning working, to what's going on in the parking lot, to now I've got security to deal with. And so, what we like to think of is when they bring us in, that we some of the, if you will, the intelligence is embedded, and it makes it a lot easier for them to identify where they need coverage, where they have coverage, and that sort of thing. And of course, only technology can only go so far, and they, that's the other part of it, is we want to work alongside, whether it's local law enforcement or resource officers or things like that, if we can.
What do you see as some of the common challenges that those schools, universities are facing when looking at their current infrastructure, their people issue? Like, what are some of the things that you're helping them
Yeah.
tackle or address?
Well, and we're simply a planning tool, right? We just do the layout. I mean, we're not the technology that detects this or that, but we are seeing some very interesting analytics come through in the cameras that can visually, proactively detect, maybe it's a firearm, or maybe it's some other suspicious object. And so that's really very interesting. And that's not us, but other manufacturers, and we can help make sure they get it, they're put in the right place. But those are some of the things that we've seen and heard uh, from our customers. But largely, we want to help them do their planning better. I mean, that's really the fundamentally. Do you have the coverage you need? And if not, where should it be?
Are you typically brought in? Let's call it the universe. Let's just stick with that right now, right?
Mhm.
For Are you typically brought in via, let's call it, the university that's looking to make changes, or sometimes with the contractor that may be, you mentioned UNLV and University of Alabama, right? Which I
Yeah.
believe is in Tuscaloosa, right? So are you being brought in by a local contractor that they're working with, either in Nevada or in Las Vegas or in Tuscaloosa, or are they bringing you in first or in conjunction with? How does that process typically work?
Well, in just to be clear, they're not bringing us in. They're using our software.
Okay.
You're right. And so we frequently, most often, we're almost always never involved. And so they will use our platform for their own planning, and then reach out to their partners and say, okay, here's what I think we want to do. That's what we've seen happen most frequently.
Who is it at the universities that's typically utilizing your platform?
Yeah, it's a director of IT, or sometimes a director of security. They have a technical arm, that sort of thing. Usually
And,
the folks.
and do they find like the same kind of benefit, right? A director of IT and a director of security have pretty differing, mandates and
Yeah,
directives.
yeah, they do. And that's, one thing we've heard is that by one of them having System Surveyor, it helps them communicate across those departments to say, okay, here's what I'm looking for. And so now they kind of get on what we like to think of as on the same page. It's that visual collaboration again that says, oh, that's what you're asking about. That's what you're talking about. It used to be, when I was first doing the security business, we would produce a 10-page scope of work describing every little detail of the project, and now we can condense that down to a drawing, and say, here's what we're really planning, and so everybody gets that. And that's just the world we're in, right? I mean, it's
Yeah, I mean, and it's
visual.
funny because I've said to my one of my co-founders, I'm just more a visual person, right? And so we use our own platform called Miro for him to kind of drop logic sheets. I don't have an engineer's mind, right, like you do, but it helps me visualize, right? And I think a lot of people, for the most part, other than engineers, no offense to your fellow engineers, but are visual people, right? Like if you show it to me, like I can see it and understand, versus if you tell it to me or if you put it in a step by step, text type of document. And I would
Right.
imagine that's pretty common.
Well, I think there's been various, cognitive research that's done that demonstrates that we are able to consume so much more information visually than any other means. Whether it's audible or simply reading text and processing that sort of thing. And you see it with media, today too, is so much easier to consume visual information. And we like to think that we're ahead in terms of we're leading. A lot of the business systems are nothing but data, and we can bring that data in and place it in a context, in a visual context that makes it much more useful and usable in that respect.
Yeah. What what are the some of the challenges that you may face in terms of growing System Surveyor, right? Because you have a couple of different markets.
Hmm.
You have some different target audience. You have universities. You have like maybe even like the local contractors that are doing the physical installation. You have the different businesses who are putting together proposals and whatnot, and the sales engineer teams, right? Like there's different ones. Like what are the challenges that you face, in growing the folks that are getting on the System Surveyor platform?
Yeah, the one of the things that we face is as we've gotten our platform out there and people see kind of they hit that aha moment that goes, well, yeah, I get it. Can you just do this one little thing? Can you just do this one little thing? And so and I've walked in those shoes, and so I get what they're asking for, and I want to be able to deliver on that for them or solve their pain, as they say. And it's hard not to be able to do that every time. And one of the core values that we have within our product is we want to make it easy to use. We don't want to be a CAD, and we don't want to be some of these other programs that you have to really be an engineer to use it. And so the more functionality we add, the more difficult that is. We are on the cusp of launching a new version, a new next generation of our platform, and perhaps by the time this gets out, it'll be out in the market. But that is exactly that. It's a repackaging to bring a lot of these new ideas into our platform, so that then we can take it from there and bring some new things to our customers that they've been wanting. But it's all a matter. We work so hard. We like to say it's hard to make things easy, and it really is. It's very hard to make things easy.
We all think that we're completely unique, right? And so, and as customers, right, we want things kind of tweaked our way, and that's probably one of the hardest things, right? Is not trying to be everything to everybody, right?
Yeah, it absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. So, and knowing where you just have to say, okay, that's probably not where we want to go. So that's one of the tougher things to do.
Let me ask you this on that. Are you still have the or the open API kind of approach to
Yes.
things that you mentioned earlier in terms of not being a closed, system, and then having the open based system with typically with the APIs does allow customers to customize certain things to their wanting and needs, right? So then
Right.
therefore you kind of aren't, that you aren't in that place of having a closed system where you're like, well, we either can or can't do that, and they don't have much flexibility in that. So I assume that's probably one of the benefits too,
Yeah.
of having
Well,
customers with you.
I think we have a fairly clear vision of where we sit. We sit as the visual representation. We're a digital drawing, is what it fundamentally amounts to. And there's data underlying that is all kinds of data. It's project data, it's device data, it's records of service and maintenance and those type of things. And we need to use our API. We need to draw from other systems, because that's information that's resident in other systems already. Maybe it's operating data. You want to push through an alert within our interface that says this device has failed or has an alarm of some sort. And so we want to be that surface that gives you that visual context, and then we can render the underlying information that you need on that particular device in that particular location. So that's the big idea, if you will.
Where did that big idea originate from? Is it from? I'm trying to think of the book. There's a book back from the '80s that I think that originated from.
Yeah, yeah. It resonates, but I don't remember the
I
name of
don't
the book.
either, but you said it, and I can
Yeah,
literally almost think of it. I don't know if it's Jim Collins' thing or, but maybe after we're done here, we'll look that up.
yeah,
Um, all right, can you walk us through? I know there's different paths that prospects and clients take with using System Surveyor, different some of the third party, let's call it, folks, but maybe can you walk us through the path of what a new client takes, maybe and you can use a couple different examples and journeys in terms of utilizing
sure.
Surveyor and implementing it.
Yeah, when folks, our customers are people that recognize. Look, I have salespeople that go out to a site, for example, from a sales application standpoint, and they don't have the tools they need to really gather information and create, gather information in order to create a proposal. And they can go to our website. I mean, that's the probably the easiest way to do is what we found, and I think is very common is people don't necessarily want to talk to a salesperson. They're used to going out to the website and say, "Hey, I want to do a little homework here, and I'm this way. Let me educate myself a little bit before I start spending time engaging with other folks." And so we get that. And look, if our solution isn't right for you, that's it's not maybe not a fit for everybody. We think we have a specific use case, and we fit a need, and we have a lot of customers that agree with us, thankfully. And but that's really the place to start is our website. Sign up for a free version and see if you think it has legs for your company and your job. And if so, great. You can sign up for the next tier and get a lot more features and things like that. Or if you want it for your team, reach out to us and we'll step you through and help you get onboarded. With some extra seats and things. So you know try the when someone goes out, they can immediately begin to use it. There's a sample survey when they sign up, and they can get the idea of how the drag and drop works, how the taking the photo works, how uploading to the cloud would work, and your team would access it from there. So you really got a good idea. And I think in 10 minutes you're gonna understand, okay, here's how it works. And of course, there's also demonstration videos, short videos that we have and things like that. It's all on our website.
Well, I'll tell you, I wholeheartedly agree in terms of that the buyer process has changed, and you're smart to embrace it because buyers are out there doing research, they're learning about things on their own time, on their own through their own process, right, without wanting to be sold. And so I think that's a pretty smart approach. I want to ask you, like, do you see any right like any other industries or opportunities for System Surveyor that may be able to use differently from how it's currently used right now with the current industries and users?
Absolutely. Well, our focus has been, because of my background, has been on the physical security space, but
Mhm.
we've always had ambition to be able to expand beyond that. In the IT space with the MSPs and things like that, because they cover such a broad breadth of different devices and things. Um, Audio visual is also an area that's got quite a bit of overlap with our space. But fundamentally, it's our platform is a visual representation of assets, whatever they are. And that might be security, it might be audiovisual, it might be IT, it could be any number of things. It could be landscaping or plumbing. Um, Not particularly markets that are you know high on our list, but that's the idea, is that we think that the technology can apply across a wide variety of things. We just are focused on a vertical today because that's the business that we know. And we do deliver in that market. We do deliver some market specific type of capabilities, but yeah, it can be used across a wide variety of
Yeah,
industries.
and I think you're super smart to focus on the niche, right? Like not try to be everything to everybody, like we talked about,
Yeah,
earlier. But it's usually platforms like yours that all of a sudden find their way into hands in other industries who are able to apply it to their own problems or their own desired, outcomes that they're trying to get to. And I think those are always of interest. That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's our hope. That's our ambition. We think as we grow, we'll have some resources and partnerships to be able to do that more effectively and efficiently. Um, and I think we're getting close.
Yeah. Well, I think you're getting close too. Well, as we wrap up here, where can people learn more about you? Obviously, in terms of System Surveyor, the website, but where can they learn more about you, follow you, see stuff like this?
Sure. Yeah. Well, of course, our website, systemsurveyor.com, is the key place, but certainly connect via LinkedIn, and also subscribe to our page on LinkedIn, System Surveyor page there with company updates and things like that. But sign up, give it a try. There's a free version. It's no obligation. Just register for an account and you kick it around, see if it might work for you. That's probably the best way to go.
No, that's always my favorite thing to say is, right. It's like, hey, you know what? I may not be for everybody, but give it a try, right? Like, and
That's
see
right.
if it is, right. Well,
Yeah,
Chris,
for
I
sure.
appreciate your time. This is a fun conversation, and I'll look forward to talking to you. But thanks so much for coming on the
Yeah,
call.
Terrence, thanks so much, and best of luck to you and your show. And hopefully we'll talk again.
We will. Thank you, sir.
Okay, take care.